and someone who is a member of CUPS about that, or Reverend Maggie when she's here. I was handed by Meg Mathias a postcard, and there's a stack of them on the green table. The postcard is a note to President Biden asking, and it's based on having lots and lots of churches gather together and make a request of him to effect a ceasefire in Israel. There will be, Meg can't stay after the service today, but I believe there are other people who know something about this if you have questions, and the cards will be on the green table. Welcome to our service, and now I'll turn it over to Catherine Rowlee. Well, Catherine Rowlee. And so let us enter into our time of worship with the sounding of our bowl. We sound the bowl 3 times. First, for those who have come before us. Is this right? Let me move this a little. We sound it for the Tongva people and the other native people who lived in this area a long time ago and who were the original stewards of the land. And we also honor our founding members and our ancestors. We sound it once for those of us here and now, for our members, our friends, our guests, for all who make this UU family what it is. And we sound it once for the future, for what will come in the future, and for those who will come to be with us in the future and call MVUUC their spiritual home. And our opening words. Life is the only way to get covered in leaves, to squeeze inside events, to dawdle in views, to seek the least of all possible mistakes. An extraordinary chance to remember for a moment a conversation held with the lamp switched off. And if, only once, to stumble on a stone, end up drenched in one downpour after another, mislay your keys on the grass, and to follow the spark of wind with your eyes. And to keep on not knowing something important. And our opening song is Come, Come, Whoever You Are, which is Rumi. And let us sing it 3 times through. I'm not going to try around. And let's just sing it 3 times, each time with a different meaning. So if you would like to maybe rise in body and or spirit, let's sing. And I'm going to go away from the microphone with my voice. Edible too. I've been just having one thing after another. but I'm not so contagious anymore, I hope, anyway. So we're going to light our chalice with these words. Always there is a new beginning, a new day, a new month, a new season, a new year. Forever the old passes away and newness emerges from the richness that was. Nothing is ever lost in the many changes that time brings. What was, in some way, will be. Though changed in form, always there is a beginning, a new day, a new month, a new season, a new year. And so, in this new moment together, we will light our chalice, symbol of our faith. I don't see our California chalice, but that's okay, it's somewhere. Nothing ever is really gone, it just goes somewhere we can't see it. So let us speak our covenant together, and you know, if you wanted, you could stay seated if it's warmer. Usually we stand and we say our covenant, and then we sing Spirit of Life. And then, so let's say, yes. We affirm that love is the greatest purpose of this congregation. The search for truth is our constant star, and service is our prayer. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. And then let's take a big breath and sing the Spirit of Life, first in English and then in Spanish. Robert is not with us today, but we have people, all our faithfuls. So let us, we don't have, like I said, they cannot carry their chalice because it isn't here. But our Buddha is here. So let's sing. Yes, let's sing. And we'll now have the time for our Sunday offering, where you may come and bring forward donations for this congregation, for the Beta Food Center. There's a basket for your donations, and also for our Share the Plate this month. All anything dedicated to Share the Plate, or half of all of our cash offerings, are going to our partner church's Calipian Scholarship Fund to help send people to school. So let us take our offering and be gratefully received. It's warm in the place. It's going to be a noise. Thank you, Jaryus. Okay. I don't know what that was about, but it was good. We have limited electricity in this place, and we're trying to do things, and things are happening because of that. So it's time to share our personal joys, concerns, what's been in our hearts. And I know there's a lot, but I have some yellow cards here. First of all, happy 90th birthday to Paul Jones. Great party. Thanks, Gina. This is from Ellen Livingston, right? Ellen? That's your writing. And then also there's a joy, a personal joy from Ellen and George, that their friends, Bev and Adrian, are here at the service with them today. So wherever you are, welcome to you, and thank you for being here. And then Maribel's feeling something we're all feeling, and I'm going to say his name wrong. We're feeling sad for Alexei Navalny. Yeah, we're sad. And she sent tears on her card, and so a moment of thought. I know in our meditation there's probably none of us that would not think of him as something that's filled our heart with sorrow. Sorry. And then I'm Jaryus. I don't see if there's anything on the. Okay, thank you. So it's a hard time. So let us just take a few moments to enter into a time of quiet meditation and prayer on what's been expressed here, the happinesses and the sadnesses, and let's just take a few deep breaths together, in and out. And feel your body trying to relax in this cold weather. Get your muscles sort of relax, and let your heart open. Let's take a moment to just think of joy, the joy of friendship, the little joys that we have had blessing our lives every day, the joys that keep us moving forward. Let's take a moment with joy. Let us take a moment to feel the compassion that we have for those of us who are feeling personal pain, sorrow, grief today, and knowing that there are many of us who hold sorrows that we have not expressed with one another. It's maybe not time or too much. So let us hold each other in compassion. And let us send our loving compassion out beyond the walls of this sanctuary to the multitudes of beings on this earth, the beings of humans and animals and plants, to the suffering, to the struggling. Let us send our loving thoughts And finally, let us send our thoughts inwards. Send a loving thought to yourself. Embrace yourself. And award yourself for your courage to keep going in these times that can be so difficult, and to find joy and to be able to give. Spirit of life and love, great mystery of many names, hold us this day and in the troubling days that will come. Help us to find strength and to show compassion. Help us to be brave and courageous in the moments of our deepest fears. May we find comfort in the love and care of both stranger and friend. May we heal and not harm. May we show each other the way towards more reason and deeper tolerance. May we grow a greater love for each other, for all of humanity, and for all of Earth's creatures. May we who sit here together now know peace. May all beings know peace. Let us feel one another in gratitude as we take a breath together in silence and community. So our reading today is something sort of interesting, something you'd probably only get at a UU church, but I picked it. And it's funny because Kusala was going to be here, on January 7th, but he didn't come because he was sick. And so now he's here today. But I had found this reading, and I chose not to have it on the 7th, but this is my new opportunity. So this is something I'm particularly interested in. And it's called, Does the Human Brain Resemble the Universe? An astrophysicist at the University of Bologna and a neurosurgeon at the University of Verona compared the network of neuronal cells in the human brain with the cosmic network of galaxies, and surprising similarities emerged. In their paper published in Frontiers in Physics, Franco Vazza, the astrophysicist, and Alberto Folletti, the neurosurgeon, investigated the similarities between two of the most challenging and complex systems in nature, the cosmic network of galaxies and the network of neuronal cells in the human brain. Despite the substantial differences in scale between the two networks, more than 27 orders of magnitude, their quantitative analysis, which sits at the crossroads of cosmology and neurosurgery, suggests that diverse physical processes can build structures characterized by similar levels of complexity and self-organization. The human brain functions thanks to its wide neuronal network that is deemed to contain approximately 69 billion neurons. On the other hand, the observable universe is composed of a cosmic web of at least 100 billion galaxies. Within both systems, only 30% of their masses are composed of galaxies and neurons. Within both systems, galaxies and neurons arrange themselves in long filaments or nodes between filaments. Finally, within both systems, 70% of the distribution of mass or energy is composed of components playing an apparently passive role: water in the brain and dark energy in the observable universe. Starting from the shared features of the two systems, researchers compared a simulation of the network of galaxies to sections of the cerebral cortex and the cerebellum. The goal was to observe how matter fluctuations scatter over such diverse scales. And this is a quote: "We calculated the spectral density of both systems. This is a technique often employed in cosmology for studying the spatial distribution of galaxies," explained Franco Vazza. "Our analysis showed that the distribution of the fluctuation within the cerebellum neural network on a scale from 1 micrometer to 0.1 millimeters follows the same progression of distribution of matter in the cosmic web, but of course on a much larger scale that goes from 5 million to 500 million light years. The two researchers also calculated some parameters of characterizing both the neuronal network and the cosmic web, the average number of connections in each node, and the tendency of clustering several connections in relevant central nodes within the network. Once again, structural parameters have identified unexpected agreement levels. Probably the connectivity within the two networks evolves following similar physical principles, despite the striking and obvious difference between the physical powers regulating galaxies and neurons, adds Alberto Filetti. These two complex networks show more similarities than those shared between the cosmic web and a galaxy, or a neuronal network and the inside of the neuronal body. The encouraging results of this pilot study are prompting the researchers to think that new and effective analysis techniques in both fields, cosmology and neurosurgery, will allow for a better understanding of the rooted dynamics underlying the temporal evolution of these two systems. I just think that's fascinating. And it says something about our existence, but I'm not quite sure what it is. So, with this, I would like to take a moment to introduce our speaker, who anybody who's been around here for a while has met many times, because I've lost track. It's been since the early 2000s that he had come to us every first Sunday of the new year, and this is a little different this year, but for a review, and for those of you who have not been introduced to him, the Venerable Kusala Bhikshu is an American-born monk. He's ordained in the Zen tradition of Vietnam, and this is a little of his history. In 1979, Kusala became interested in meditation, and he found his way to the International Buddhist Meditation Center, where he still is. In 1981, he took refuge and accepted the 5 precepts of a lay Buddhist and was given the name Kusala, which means skillful. In 1983, with a growing interest in early Buddhism, he began his studies with the Venerable Dr. H. Ratanasara at the College of Buddhist Studies in Los Angeles. In 1994, he took his novice vows and was given the Dharma name Kusala Ratana Karuna, skillful jewel of compassion. In 1996, he received his full ordination as a bhikshu and was given the name Tik Tam Tien, heavenly heart-mind. And he had the Venerable Dr. H. Ratanasara and Venerable Karuna Dharma were his 2 ordaining masters. And he received his BA in Buddhist Studies from the College of Buddhist Studies in Los Angeles. He still lives and works at the International Buddhist Meditation Center in the Koreatown section of Los Angeles. He cares for the grounds, he facilitates meditation and discussion groups, he feeds cats, and lots of cats, and fish, koi fish. He continues to give presentations at high schools and colleges and churches and wherever he's asked to. He's been very active in many different areas, living his beliefs. He's presently still a member of the Buddhist Roman Catholic Dialogue of Los Angeles, and he, as he's aging into his great wisdom, he's he's a Facebook person, and he has a lot of followers, and his wisdom is wonderful. If you need to follow him, if you don't, because you will have a really good time with his posts, and he's reaching a lot of people. I believe he said over 31,000, and he also has other things coming that he's going to tell you about. Okay, so come on, welcome up.
Okay, that was a rather long introduction, but but it sounds good. Yeah, I was supposed to be here on the first Sunday of the new year, 2024, but I had the flu, and it's been a while since I had the flu, and it was sort of uncomfortable, so I decided not to infect anybody else, and so I'm happy to be here today, and must say I'm feeling good and getting ready for the next rainfall. So I'm going to talk about meaning today, and I'm going to talking about cause and effect today, according to Buddhism. And what got me started in thinking about this was an earthquake tsunami a few years ago in Thailand. And some of you may remember that, and it was amazing to see the video footage of that, and people running on the beach, and the water just sort of took over, which means ultimately that we're not in charge at all. And I was listening to some news reports, and I was just blown away, because number one, the Christian minister said, it's God's will. I'm going, man. Number two, the Buddhist monk said, it's their karma. And I'm going, man. And I know on the news you want to make it simple and see if you can get some one-word conclusions, and this is why, and there's only one reason, and da-da-da. But I couldn't buy it. So I've been studying and understanding and looking for something more realistic, if you will. And I found it. I found it in Buddhism. It's called the 5 niyamas, the 5 causes, the 5 reasons stuff happens, which is really useful in 2024. Because you look around and you say to yourself, why is this happening? What is wrong? We got the politics, we got the weather, we got a bunch of unhappy people. Nobody seems to be doing well enough or good enough. And I'm going, how can I give meaning to this situation? So, number one is geology. Stuff happens because we live on a planet with an atmosphere that's circling the sun. And when I thought back to the tsunami and the earthquake, I'm going, yeah, geology. It's not their karma. It's because they live on Earth. And we live in Los Angeles and Ventura area, and we just had an earthquake a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going, wow. I didn't think it was the karma of Los Angeles that did it. I thought, it's those, we're just living in an earthquake-prone part of California. So that helped me give meaning to that situation. Every time it rumbles or it rains or we have a tsunami, I think to myself, yeah, this darn planet, the only one that supports life, we're stuck. We can't go anyplace. So get used to it and have your emergency stuff ready. Number 2 is biology. Stuff happens to us because of our biology. Now, the reason I'm wearing a hat today is because it's cold. And in my family, we have receding hairlines. So the top of my head always gets a bit chilly in cold weather. Thankfully, I've got a hat. I can blame the men in my past and the legacy they've given me, but you just wear your hat and go, at least you're here. But some people have biology and things keep going wrong. They fix this and then that goes wrong, and they fix that and this goes wrong, and then they start getting a little older, 40, 50, and that goes wrong, and it never works the same, and you just go, why? It's because of your biology. You're a human being. You walk the earth with the other animals on the planet, and we're prone to certain things happening to us. And aging is the biggest trip of all. You know, in April I'll be 75, and I'm going, man, who would have thought I would have made it to 75? And what do I have to look forward to? And then I stopped thinking after that. I just, we'll just wait and see what happens. So biology is important. Geology is important on to why things happen. Number 3, we come to it, karma. The moral aspect of why things happen to you. Now, let me explain karma from a Buddhist perspective. One of my favorite bumper stickers in the 1970s was, what goes around comes around. And I thought to myself, how profound is that? I want to get one for my bumper too, just to let everybody know the wisdom I have come to understand. But it doesn't quite work that way. Okay, so karma has 3 aspects. It has speech, it has action, it has thought. Okay? Now, because of speech, action, and thought, we create consequences. So if you have a pleasant thought, there may be a pleasant consequence for that. It might make you happy and peaceful and serene. Pleasant thoughts are wonderful. And as we age, it's always good to pack away a few pleasant thoughts for the journey. Because I don't know if this happens to you, but often I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which in LA is a good time to be awake because it's probably the quietest time of the whole day. And I'm thinking about 27 years ago when I did this or I said that, and what a fool I was, and I made people uncomfortable, and why did I say it? And now it's 3:10 in the morning, and I'm trying to go back to sleep. And then another thought comes, and another thought comes. I'm waiting for the pleasant thoughts. And another thought comes. I'm going, wow, okay. I just have to say out loud, literally, may I be peaceful, happy, and free from suffering. And I lay down and wait for sleep to occur. Sometimes it takes a little while, so then I start feeling the sensation of breath going out and in. No concepts there, just a sensation, present moment experience. Back to sleep. Okay. So karma and thought is important. It's good to have skillful, wholesome thoughts if you can. Number 2, karma, speech. Man, it creates a lot of happiness and a lot of sadness. And now we're sort of stuck in this political stuff. And everybody's talking. And they're not talking nice. And you just listen to it. And you go, how much agony and anguish and fear are they creating by what they say? You know? And now they say Russia's going to have rockets with atom bombs to get all the satellites. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen to my internet if they get all the satellites? Man. So speech can cause a lot of suffering, or it can cause a lot of peace and tranquility. So it's important to speak well. And as my mother used to tell me, if you can't say anything nice at all, don't say anything. Sometimes silence makes you sound so wise. And once that first word is uttered, they know. They know. And then we have action. How many actions do we do every day that cause suffering to ourselves or others? And do we even think about it? Sometimes we're just on automatic, and we're just reacting to all the stuff around us. We're not responding in a skillful, wholesome way. We're simply reacting. Okay. You know, the mosquito bites you when you slap the mosquito. Well, how about if you didn't slap the mosquito? And you wouldn't cause any suffering to the mosquito, and you'd have some good karma consequence because you didn't take that life. You know, and most people are going to go, no, it's better to kill the mosquito. And if the mosquito has malaria, you're absolutely right. But I don't think we get malaria in LA. Maybe we do, you know, but it's just, can you think, speak, and act in a skillful, wholesome way that reduces suffering rather than increases suffering? And if you can, that would be considered good karma. So stuff happens to us because of karma. Number 4, the Dharma. Now, the Dharma may not mean much to you, but if you're a Hindu or a Buddhist, that word is significant. And in Buddhism in particular, we use the word Dharma to explain the teachings of the Buddha, but we also use it to explain the ultimate reality. So Dharma is a reason to understand suffering. If you're suffering, the Dharma says, of course, all human beings suffer. But there's an answer. And the answer is nirvana. And there's a path. And the path is the Eightfold Path. And if you follow the Eightfold Path, you won't suffer anymore. So we use Dharma to give meaning and understanding to our own personal suffering. Now, it doesn't have to be big suffering. It doesn't have to be a car accident that's going to cost you $3,000 unless you bought that insurance that everybody's talking about, because we all know it's just a matter of time until we're going to have an accident. Talk about fear. Or how about you having a bad hair day? Or how about they ran out of your favorite donut at the donut store? These are all levels of suffering that we have to deal with constantly. So that gives a Buddhist meaning. Of course it's suffering. Of course the world is the way it is. That's always been that way. But then what happens when it turns out to be a good day or a good moment? That's the one you notice. That's the one that's unexpected. That's the one nobody told you about. If you're a Buddhist, they're always talking about suffering, and then death, and then rebirth. So you can suffer again, and suffer again. And then one day, after suffering through 1,000 lifetimes, you achieve nirvana. Cool. I'll never have to suffer again. I'll never have to be reborn again. I'll be in ultimate peace. But that's as far as they go in Buddhism. They don't tell you anything after that. Where is nirvana located? Well, it doesn't have a beginning and it doesn't have an end. So where is it located? Well, it's not really located. You're always sort of in nirvana, you just don't know it. You got to get rid of a lot of stuff. And once you get rid of all the stuff that's preventing you from experiencing nirvana, there you are. And you never have to be reborn again. Is that forever? Well, no, we don't have a forever. It just doesn't start and doesn't end. So what does that all mean? I have no idea. But that's what they say. That's what the Dharma says. And there's like 100 books. There's the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path and the 7 Factors of Enlightenment, and there's this and there's that. And so if you want meaning for your own personal suffering, we got it. And if you want to end it, we got that too. Number 5, the biggest rascal of them all, the mind. The mind causes a lot of things to happen. And it causes us to happen. I don't know if you ever thought about that, but I was speaking to a guy named Dixon today, and he went to a Zen temple 50 years ago. And he knocked on the door and they let him in. And they said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I don't know." That's the perfect answer. If you ever go to a Zen temple and they ask you who you are, just, "I don't know." "Who do you want to be?" "I don't know." "Where did you come from?" "I don't know. I'm just in the present moment experience of my life." People call me things. They call me late for dinner. They call me George or Sam or Mary, and that's who I am to them. Husband, wife, grandparents, children, that's who they are. But when it comes down to self-reflection and looking deeply into who you really are, you keep coming up empty. And I'm going to get to that. That is the most profound statement Buddhism can make. You keep coming up empty. So what does the mind do? Its job is to think. We're always thinking. We never stop thinking. Even in deep states of sleep, we're still thinking. We got the dreams, and we go, "Wow, this is so cool. I never want to wake up again." And then you wake up again. You go, "Oh, man. Now I've got to think about lunch and breakfast, and is there gas in the car?" And I have to do all this thinking just to get through the day. And then there's a lot of critiquing and judging going on. I don't want to be like that person. I wish I had their shoes. Those are cool shoes. And then we start making stuff up. Like we make up America. Now, you may think America exists, but only in the minds of Americans. Where does the soul exist of America? When I was at UCLA as a Buddhist chaplain, one day I'm walking through campus and I look around and I said to myself, what's the essence of UCLA? Where does the soul exist? Is there an independent entity that we can call UCLA? Or is it a bunch of buildings and thoughts and people that have come together? And they're all in conspiracy with each other to make UCLA happen. And they even have cards that say UCLA. You go, whoa, man, this must exist. It's got to be real. And then you look at America and you say, well, where does the essence of America exist? Is there a central point that we can go to and say, this is the real America? Is it a stone, a building? What is it? It's a mind state. It's a mind state. And when Veterans Day, I'm in Westwood Village, they have a wonderful cemetery there, but they put the American flags. As far as you can see, there's American flags by the tombstones. And in one moment, I just had this sort of insight. Man, all those people died over a concept. I'm going, wow. Is the flag America? It allows you to understand that there's something behind the flag, but is that America? We're going to be voting pretty soon. Is that America? What kind of America do we want? We have people thinking this way and people thinking that way. And what's the right way to think? Oh man, I got to keep creating all this stuff. And it's being created by the mind and thinking. Okay. And then we have the good stuff and we have the bad stuff. Is there really anything good or bad? Or is it just the way we're thinking about it? And 20 years ago, this was good. And 20 years later, it's not so good. And 20 years in the future, it may not be good at all. And what changed? Well, the main thing that changed was the way you interpret that. So if we look back on 2024, 50 years from now, will it be a good year or a bad year? It's never just a year, because we have to give it a grade. And who's giving it the grade? The mind. And why do we think the way we do? Because we are humans. And we're given the gift of self-awareness. And we're the only animal that has the kind of self-awareness that we do. And some people think it happened 60 years ago or 100,000 years ago. And we're not sure when that self-awareness took root and started. But that gave us a really unique perspective of the world. Because at that moment, we were forever separate and couldn't go back. We couldn't go back to the wholeness of the reality. We had to stay separate from it now. But being separate allowed us to really get good at thinking. We created a language with thousands and thousands of words that say nothing unless you speak the language. I had a German friend who used the term Lavina, Lavina. Kusala, what would you do if you're walking along and somebody yelled Lavina? I said, I don't know. What would I do? What does that mean? She said, it means avalanche. Well, I just get killed because I didn't know what it meant. So we have all this language that we use to give meaning to our experience in the world around us, and then we have mathematics. We can get really abstract. 3 oranges and 4 apples make 7. But you got apples and oranges. How can they make 7? No, they can make 7. It's on page 4. Okay. So we're blessed to be able to think the way we do as human beings, but it's also a curse. Because it's a very complicated world that we live in. And one of the things I like about getting old is that I am less concerned about knowing everything. If I need to know something, I got Google. But other than that, I don't want to know. I'm trying to sort of take all this stuff and baggage in my head and just sort of release it. Just sort of release it. To be able to see the present moment experience of my life without it being messed up by concepts and preferences. You know? Just to see the tree for what it really is. Not an apple tree or a pine tree, but just this sort of green and brown thing. How would that be to just see it without knowing what it is? You know? So the mind creates the world for us. Dharma creates the world for us. Karma creates the world for us. Biology creates the world for us. And geology creates the world for us. It gives us meaning and understanding. And sometimes we can rationalize that and say, well, of course, it had to happen. The earthquake, they've been telling us forever it's going to happen, and it finally happened. We shouldn't be surprised. Even if it's expected, it's still a big surprise. But now I'm going to get to the core of my talk. The meaning. What the hell is the meaning? What does it all mean? I've been talking for 20 minutes now, giving you reasons why stuff happens. But what does it all mean? Leonardo da Vinci said, try and see, it's all connected. Oh, man. Buddhism, we talk about that a lot. Everything is interconnected and interdependent. Nothing exists separately. Everything is empty of independent existence. Okay. And then there's this scientist guy, and I wish I could remember his name, but it always eludes me. I was watching a 3-part series on science and spirituality, PBS, still available. You can watch it. The guy is really good. You know, and he's down to earth, and he believes in atoms and molecules, you know. But he had this experience, and he can't stop talking about it. His family has a lake island in Maine. And on the lake island is a house. And he goes there to relax and visit and that kind of stuff. So he's in his boat. It's late one night, and he's sort of chugging across the lake. And he just stops and lays down in the boat and looks at the sky. And what he sees is something he hadn't expected. That everything merged into a wholeness, and he was no longer separate. He was part of the wholeness, but not the part he used to be. He was connected. And so he's got a couple interviews on YouTube, and if you can find them, they're really good. It's fun to hear him talk, because he's so practical. And yet he's got this spiritual experience that just rocked his world. And so he said, the meaning is, it's connected. So if you can see that, it will change your life too. Because you won't be able to look at homeless people the same ever again. Because you're connected. And you can't turn away. You can't put your head in the sand. They are you, and you are them. And you sense the suffering. And the Dharma says, perhaps if you think of it in a bodhisattva way, one who takes a vow to end all suffering in the world, which of course is forever, it will change your mind about everything. And maybe you'll try to feed them, or find them cares, find them a place to stay. You might do something that you hadn't planned on or even hadn't thought about, but now you see the connection. And so now your life is forever changed, and you can't ever go back. That's the sad part about the spiritual path. Once you're on a spiritual path, you can never go back to the ignorance you had before. You're stuck. You can only go forward. You can't even stand in the same place because everything keeps changing all around you, all the time. A moment at a time. Everything is new and different. And that's the cool part about realizing this when you get to be 75, that it's all the first time. I've never done this before. I've been here many years, once a year, but this is always the first time. And that makes it exciting. We should never get bored with our life. We should never think it's just going to happen the way it's always happened, because it doesn't. It's new. And you are too. And the moment just keeps being another moment. Somebody said, well, how many moments can you have in a minute? And somebody else said, infinite moments in a minute, because there's no time duration. How many points in an inch on a line? Infinite. So we can have 1,000,000 moments, or we can have one moment, because there's no duration. And this can be our moment. And we look at the world in a radically different way, like the scientist on the lake. And it changed him forever, and it changes you forever as well. So I'm going to stop there and say, Happy New Year. This is the first one we've ever had. And I brought my harmonica. I'm glad somebody wants to hear it because it makes me happy. And so here's the little blue in the key of G. Oh. Thank you for listening.
Well, that was the first time I've ever heard you play the harmonica. Not really, but maybe. That was wonderful. But what he didn't say that I didn't say, because I thought he was going to say it, is that he has a book coming out. So, a book.
Oh, yes, a book.
He has a book coming out, and it's going to be called Urban Dharma, which was the name of his, it's the name of his archival website, which you should explore also if you want to see some interesting things. Would you like to say something?
If I can elucidate just a
Yes.
second. Yes. A friend of mine named Rebecca and I have been working on a book for 10 years. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? And we're finally close to publishing, and it should be out in the spring of 2024. And it's called Urban Dharma, and what it's about is my community service. When I was a volunteer police chaplain in Garden Grove, when I was at UCLA Medical Center and gave talks to the new chaplains, when I was at a state prison in Lancaster as a volunteer, and these are stories that sort of came out of those experiences. And it's a way of letting people know, I think, that Buddhism is just not about sitting. There's also a lot of doing as well. So spring of 2024.
Good. We didn't want to let that go by. So our closing song, and it might be nice to rise for this, is the Blue Boat, our Blue Boat Home. So seems like it goes good with this. And we'll have our closing words, and then we'll say our extinguishing words together, I think, if Jaryus puts them up. And then, but the closing words are, as we weather the winds of change, may we have the wisdom to cherish moments of stillness. As we recollect times of challenge and pain, may we remember also the graceful blessings of our lives. As we look to a future of unknowns, may we have the boldness to trust that there is unimagined good yet to come. And let us extinguish our chalice, and well, let's say our words, and then we'll, okay, we hold the light of this chalice in our hearts as we extinguish it today. It will continue to burn brightly within us, helping to guide us on our path until we meet again.